Hello, that's me, Doug from Abundant RV Life. Now, I thought I had found the best meter for RV use. I want to install some solar panels and hook some things up and do inverter. And this thing has some new technology. First of all, it's got the app you put on your phone so you can read the meter remotely, which I thought would be extremely handy. And also, it measures DC amps. Not when I say measures DC amp, it's clamp on. You clamp the meter on the cable and it's going to measure the DC amps. Prior to this, at this kind of a price point, you would never find this kind of a meter. So what this means is you don't have to put a shunt in there. Normally, you'd have to take one of these little shunts, break open the connections, put the shunt in, and then start everything up. And then there's two wires that go out to the meter to measure the amps. The shunt is something that gives it the low voltage and the measurement for the meter. Now, these are the specifications. It does all the usual stuff that you'd find: capacitance, resistance, and voltages. But there was two things that really irked me on this thing. One is this: they have a dual button, the backlight key and the hold button. And I had to fumble around with that thing for a little bit because it doesn't work like they're telling you in the instructions. The next thing that upset me, I go to measure the temperature and I discover suddenly, oh yeah, it doesn't measure Fahrenheit. Now everything measures Fahrenheit, but not this thing, only Celsius. And I saw again when I went back to Amazon that, yeah, some people were complaining about, why doesn't it measure Fahrenheit? The next frustration with the meter was the app itself. I put it on my Moto G6 phone, which is a few years old, and it connected right away up to the meter. I thought, oh, that's great. Except later that afternoon, I come out, I'm going to do more tests, more filming, and you can spend 20, 30 minutes playing around. You go to all the settings and everything, and I can't get the app connected. Well, I discovered the reason why on my phone, maybe not on other people's phones. I had to reboot my phone, and then the app worked. The next day I came out, the app doesn't work. I reboot my phone, and it connects. So it's just a little bit of annoyance that every time you use the app on my phone, you have to reboot the phone. There's another huge problem that I had with the meter that was very, very frustrating, and I will go into that in a minute. But first, I want to tell you about this other thing. And that is the reason why it was the last straw I sent it back. I went out there to do some more filming. I was going to clean some stuff up. So I just wanted to refilm measuring some DC voltage. I was going to start out with that and show it in a fashion that people could understand. And I went to measure these two batteries and a battery charger with a 12-volt battery hooked up to it. And the meter, if you look at the meter in this, the screen is just flashing numbers. There's just numbers flashing all over the place. And it's really annoying, and you wonder what's going on. And then it just would not read those voltages. It would not settle in and not read the voltages that it read 2 days ago. 2 days before that, it read them fine. But so something went haywire with the meter, and that was, to me, the last straw, and I sent the thing back. Now, I'm going to be a little reluctant on really slamming this meter and calling these people bad names or something, which I'm not doing, because I think they really tried to make the meter right. The feel of the meter, the jaws, the way it opens, the case, all that stuff feels pretty good. So there's a possibility of a couple things. Number one, I got a defective meter that went south on us on the voltage readings. And number two is my phone, the Android system, something with my phone doesn't allow the app to work right. So those are two things where it's possible that not everyone has that problem. But I do know from reading Amazon reviews that I believe a large number of people have a problem with certain aspects of this meter, and that is measuring DC amps. And it's all because of one thing. So I got the videos here. We'll put it up. I'll try and explain it, and maybe I can help some people out that are trying to make a decision on the meter or trying to use it, because it's possible it could work if you know exactly what you're doing and you're aware of the limitations of it.
Okay, 14. I'm doing something wrong. Something's gone wacky. It worked yesterday. Okay, so it's got 14 volts here. That's on that meter. That measures 14 volts. There's something going odd about this thing. Why is it not measuring common volts? We don't have it on hold. Let me turn it off. A little glitch in the system here. Okay. I'm going to put this light on so you can see it. To be honest with you, I don't know what this worked fine yesterday, and I don't know what the problem is today with measuring that. I would just measure these batteries. Oh, it's gone wacky. The meter has gone wacky. Something's wrong. I feel like, what am I doing? What am I doing wrong? No, because it should go to positive now. The thing should go positive, right? I mean, I'm reversing the polarity. You got this minus sign there. $15 volts out of a 9-volt battery. I don't think.
Take a look at what I think is possible user error, okay, and also a poor job by the manufacturer of actually explaining the use of the meter, and then the oddity of when you measure DC current, it's not like measuring AC current, even though it's a clamp-on meter. So take a look at this. This is the instruction sheet on the first side. It gives you all the little buttons and what they do. Number 6, the rel key. You press the rel key and the meter enters relative measuring mode. Now this is a button. When you press it down, it turns it on, and then it's on for good, you know, until you turn it off. Now what they tell you is the rel is a way of zeroing the meter at a certain point, and then you take a measurement, and whatever goes on further is read on the meter face, the LCD. I thought maybe this was an oddity to this meter, this rel key. So I searched around and I found out that the Ideal company, they make meters too, they do have rel mode on their meters. And like they give an example. The feature is used when taking very low resistance measurements. And it's like this is a common use. See, let's say you have 2 test leads and you turn your meter on resistance and you short the 2 test leads out. Well, technically there's some resistance in those wires. Maybe it's 0.1 ohms. Well, you could push the rel key now, and now the meter would go to 0. Now you go over and you measure your very low resistance item, and you'll get an accurate measurement of that item because it's taken out the resistance. It's brought it back to 0 and taken that out. So that's what it's supposed to do. But with the meter, it's a tricky thing, and it doesn't do it the way you would expect it to happen. Because what happened is I discounted the rel key. I figured, well, I'll never use the rel key again. I mean, I don't need the rel key. It's not my cup of tea to have zeroed out things and then go on from there and measure the difference. That was a big mistake on my part, okay? Here is why. On the second page of the directions, they say DC current measurement. Now, anybody knows how to measure that. You just open the clamps, put it on the wire, and you're done, right? No, that's the problem. You've got to press the rel key and the display shows 0, okay? Well, right here is the giveaway. The jaw core, there's an iron core in that jaw, may retain some magnetic force after using it for a while. Pressing the rel key is supposed to take that out or change it or do something. And they say if the rel key doesn't do it, change the direction of the measured DC current and open the jaws several times. Okay, so that's one of the problems that we have here is the jaws retain some magnetic force, and that's going to give you a false reading. It's also polarity sensitive. Whichever way you put this thing on the wire, if you put it so the meter's facing up, it's going to go one way. If you turn the meter over and put it on so the face of the meter, the LCD screen is facing down away from you, now it's going to read differently. It's going to go pluses and minuses. This is majorly different than AC measurement. AC, when you measure AC wires, the AC current automatically demagnetizes those jaws for you. Okay, let's use some videos now to show you what I'm talking about with this rel button and the measuring the DC amps. I take the meter, I bring it out of the shop. This is before I understood the rel button. This is when I was never going to use it. I hang the meter on the thing so I can film it. I got the meter, I turn the meter on. Look at it, it reads 11.8 amps. You're asking, why does it read 11.8 amps? We don't know why it reads 11.8 amps. It's just that happens to show up on the face of the meter because this is what the meter does. It always has numbers on the face there. So now watch what happens. We're going to turn the welder on. We're going to do some welding. So we get, but every reading you see on here is going to be 11 amps too high. 11 amps extra added on there. So now I stop welding. Now it shows 13 amps on the screen. See, did you see the 13 amps? It just shows up there out of nowheresville. And there it is, 13 amps on the screen. Well, that throws everything off. Okay, watch what happens here. I'm charging up the backhoe battery. And we come over to the amp meter, and I have my little magnetic amp meter to the right of that. It reads 20 amps, but that's high. It's high because I didn't press the rel button before. Now watch this. The battery charge is off, right? 11.9 amps. Turn the battery charger on, it goes to 23. Why was it showing 11.9 amps when the battery charger was off? And now you're measuring starter current, and we started with 12 or 13 amps to begin with, so that's another problem. Yeah, so let's put it on the positive lead, facing this way. And it shows a minus 4.3. Put it on this way, facing that way, 3.9. Now, if you take the relative off, right? See, that'll double everything. Oh, and then it doesn't even work this way. It reads nothing this way. And 8 the other way. And that's showing a minus on both of them. Come over here, it shows a minus 8. And there's nothing that way. So now you press the relative. And it's 4, right? And it shows. So now this thing in the back is showing. It's showing half an amp, right? 0.6. Now with the propane detector, it was actually showing 7 amps, which was right. Okay, so let's turn the thing off. Should. It kills me. Okay, we just turned it off. Now it shows. Now it's showing 6.7 amps. Why? Stop the tape. Okay, stop the tape. This needs to be explained. See, here I am still struggling. This is like day 2 or something with the meter. I'm still struggling with trying to figure out what is going on with the thing. How does it work? How do you use it? And I can see now after the time that what's going on here is if you measure a DC lead, like the battery charge. Let's say you put it on the battery charger, you put it on the positive lead, it measures something like 4 amps. Well, you take the meter off of that leg, right? And now you got to put it on the other line, the negative line. Well, what's done is there's residual magnetism in the thing. It could be 0.5 amps, 0.2 amps, 1.2 amps, 2 amps. You don't know. But what happens is you go to the other line, see, and it's going to measure a lower figure because now you're subtracting those amps. So what's happened here with the motorhome is I put it on the line in the back. I've got the rel thing on, but whatever is, if you measure amps, then it's got that in the system. So now it's sitting in the back and it's measuring 0 amps. So you say, great, nothing's being drawn from the battery. Then you turn the master switch off. So now nothing's connected to the battery, and suddenly the meter jumps up to 6 amps or 8 amps. That's because it's got this stuff in there, and it's going to keep popping up. And when I had the battery on the motorhome connected, what it was doing, it was zeroing the meter. It was bringing it to 0. It was going the opposite way. But when you turn the battery off, suddenly it pops back up again. So now even though the battery's off, it's showing it's drawing current. And this is the frustrating thing with this meter, because you're constantly in doubt about whether it's really reading correctly. And with the Bluetooth app, you're up there in the motorhome, you run something and then turn it off. Well, now it's got residual stuff in the meter. And technically speaking, you should run down there, rel out the meter, run back up, measure, run back down, rel the meter, run back. I mean, it's going crazy here. If I put this across here like this will show you what those lights were drawing. Okay. What was on was 7 amps. So those lights, or whatever's connected in the coach, is 7 amps. That thing now is showing absolutely 0. All right. So in technically speaking, right now this thing is connected up to the phone. But the problem is, it reads 10. We don't know what that 10 is. We have no idea. So let's put some lights on. Ooh. Okay, so now it just changed it. Oh. No, it's just, I'm not supposed to run these empty, but anyway, 147, hey, 147 amps to run the microwave. The thing obviously works to an extent, but I don't understand why this 14 amps is here. I mean, is there, I can turn the inverter off now. Is there something drawing 14 amps from the battery at all times? Turn the inverter off. Technically speaking, it should go back down to 8 amps, which was before. There's nothing that I can, nothing really on. Oops, the furnace thingy is on. Yeah, the furnace is running. I mean, not on, but the power to the thing is to come on. I don't see anything else on here. Okay. All right, now let's go back out and plug it in. 37 amps on that leg. 37, 39 amps on that leg. 38. Okay, now I hope you liked this review. I tried to do a fair and honest thing. I didn't want to slam the company because I think they really have tried to make a meter that works right. The directions are lacking a little. They should really highlight this polarity of the meter and this rel button thing. And the rel button is not intuitive. It's like on a caliper, if you push the button, it's a momentary press. You just press it in and it goes to 0. The button doesn't stay in. On this thing, you push it on and the rel is on until you turn it off. And so it's kind of confusing that way. And then when you measure something, you really need to go out there and rel the meter, which involves pushing the rel button in, which turns the rel off. Then you push the rel button on, which turns it on. And it usually doesn't 0 the first time. So now you push the button into off and then you push it again. So you got all this button pushing just to measure another lead or another wire. So everything is going to be a little bit of a hassle, and what I found was I was never really certain of how many amps something was drawing. I didn't have confidence that it was really reading right. Now on a starter motor, if it's 300 or 400 amps, who cares? or on a battery charger, or maybe you're charging at 100 amps or 75 amps or 60 amps. Well, but when you get down to this other stuff, you want to know how much stuff draws. It's 7, 8 amps. You know, you really need the other meter. That little red meter has a shunt inside, and you can measure up to 10 amps, and you put that on, and then you know how much it's drawing. You know absolutely for certain it's 6.95 amps. That's what it is. This meter, you could put it on, and maybe it's right, and maybe it's not. So kind of annoying. Now, if you like this review, this is one of the first videos we're putting up on this our Abundant Life RV channel, because we're selling our sticks and bricks. You can see I have a big shops there and all this stuff. And I did unique three-phase. I was running three-phase motors on single-phase power. I wrote a book on that on Amazon. And I did a lot of videos on that kind of stuff. So I like doing this stuff, and I plan to do videos on solar and inverters and electricity and mechanical stuff. And our motorhome that we bought is our test case to work on and do stuff. So if you like this, subscribe to the channel. Maybe we'll definitely be putting more stuff up. We're trying to get our 5 acres ready and sell it or rent it, one of those two. And we're going to be hitting the road and getting out of here because we don't like the winters in Idaho. All right. Subscribe and like. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.